right, and straight on till morning.
That, Peter had told Wendy, was the way to Neverland.
At first, his companions trusted him implicitly, and so great were the delights of flying that they wasted time circling round church spires or any other tall objects on the way that took their fancy.
John and Michael raced, Michael getting a start.
They recalled with contempt that not so long ago they had thought themselves fine fellows for being able to fly round a room.
They did not pretend to be sleepy,
They were sleepy.
and that was a danger.
For the moment they popped off,
Down they fell.
the awful thing was that Peter thought this funny.
There he goes again.
He would cry gleefully as Michael suddenly dropped like a stone.
Save him! Save him!
Eventually Peter would dive through the air and catch Michael just before he could strike the sea.
And it was lovely the way he did it.
But he always waited till the last moment, and you felt it was his cleverness that interested him and not the saving of human life.
Do be more polite to him.
Wendy whispered to John when they were playing Follow My Leader.
And tell him to stop showing off.
You must be nice to him. What could we do if he were to leave us here?
We could go back.
How could we ever find our way back without him?
Well then, we could go on.
That is the awful thing, John. We should have to go on, for we don't know how to stop.
This was true. Peter had forgotten to show them how to stop.
John said that if the worst came to the worst, all they had to do was to go straight on, for the world was round, and so in time they must come back to their own window.
Peter was not with them for the moment, and they felt rather lonely up there by themselves.
He suddenly reappeared.
There it is.
Where?
Where?
Where all the arrows are pointing.
Indeed, 1,000,000 golden arrows were pointing it out to the children, all directed by their friend the sun.
Who wanted them to be sure of their way before leaving them for the night.
Wendy and John and Michael stood on tiptoe in the air to get their first sight of the island.
John, there's the lagoon.
Wendy, look at the turtles burying their eggs in the sand.
I say, John, I see your flamingo with the broken leg.
Oh, look, Michael, there's your cave.
John, what's that in the brushwood?
It's a wolf with her whelps. Wendy, I do believe that's your little whelp.
Oh, there's my boat. John, with her sides stove in.
No, it isn't. Why, we burned your boat.
That's her. At any rate, I say, John, I see the smoke of the Tiger Lily's camp.
Where? Where? Show me. And I'll tell you by the way the smoke curls whether they are on the warpath.
There. Just across the mysterious river.
I see now. Yes, they are on the warpath. Right enough.
Peter was a little annoyed with them for knowing so much.
But if he wanted to lord it over them, his triumph was at hand.
For have I not told you that anon fear fell upon them?
In the old days at home, the Neverland had always begun to look a little dark and threatening by bedtime. You were quite glad that the night lights were on. You even liked Nana to say that this was just the mantelpiece over here, and that the Neverland was all make-believe.
Of course, the Neverland had been make-believe in those days.
But it was real now.
And there were no night lights.
And it was getting darker every moment.
And where was Nana?
They were now over the fearsome island, flying so low that sometimes a tree grazed their feet.
They don't want us to land.
Who are they?
but he could not or would not say.
Tinkerbell had been asleep on his shoulder, but now he wakened her and had sent her on in front.
Would you like an adventure now?
Peter said casually to John.
Or would you like to have your tea first?
Tea first.
Michael pressed her hand in gratitude, but the braver John hesitated.
What kind of adventure?
There's a pirate asleep in the pampas just beneath us. If you like, we'll go down and kill him.
I don't see him.
I do.
Well, suppose he were to wake up.
You don't think I would kill him while he was sleeping? I would wake him first and then kill him. That's the way I always do.
I say, do you kill many?
Tons.
How ripping!
John said.
But decided to have tea first.
He asked if there were many pirates on the island just now, and Peter said he had never known so many.
Oh, who is captain now?
Hook.
His face became very stern as he said that hated word.
James Hook.
Aye.
And indeed, Michael began to cry,
And even John could speak in gulps only.
for they knew Hook's reputation.
He was Blackbeard's boatswain. He's the worst of them all. He is the only man of whom Barbecue was afraid.
That's him.
What is he like? Is he big?
He's not so big as he was.
How do you mean?
I cut a bit off of him.
You?
Yes, me.
I wasn't meaning to be disrespectful,
Oh, all right.
but I say, what bit?
His right hand.
Then he can't fight now.
Oh, can't he just?
Ah, left-hander.
He has an iron hook instead of a right hand and he claws with it.
Claws?
I say, John,
Yes.
say aye, sir.
Aye, sir.
There is one thing that every boy who serves under me has to promise, and so must you.
John paled.
It is this. If we meet Hook in open fight, you must leave him to me.
Promise.
For the moment they were feeling less eerie because Tink was flying with them, and in her light they could distinguish each other.
Unfortunately, she could not fly so slowly as they, and so she had to go round and round them in a circle, in which they moved as in a halo. Wendy quite liked it, until Peter pointed out the drawbacks.
She tells me that the pirates sighted us before the darkness came and got Long Tom out.
The big gun?
Yes, and of course they must see her light, and if they guess we are near it, they're sure to let fly.
Tell her to go away at once, Peter.
He thinks we have lost the way, and she's rather frightened. You don't think I would send her away all by herself when she's frightened?
Oh, then tell her to put out her light.
She can't put it out. That's about the only thing fairies can't do. It just goes out of itself when she falls asleep. Same as the stars.
Then tell her to sleep at once.
She can't sleep except when she's sleepy. It's the only other thing fairies can't do.
Seems to me these are the only two things worth doing.
If only one of us had a pocket, we could carry her in it.
However, they had set off in such a hurry that there was not a pocket between the four of them.
He had a happy idea. John's hat.
Tink agreed to travel by hat if it was carried in the hand.
John carried it, although she had hoped to be carried by Peter.
Presently, Wendy took the hat because John said it struck against his knee as he flew, and this,
As we shall see,
led to mischief.
for Tinkerbell hated to be under an obligation to Wendy.
In the black topper, the light was completely hidden, and they flew on in silence.
To Michael, the loneliness was dreadful.
If only something would make a sound.
As if in answer to his request, the air was rent by the most tremendous crash he had ever heard.
The pirates had fired Long Tom at them.
Peter had been carried by the wind of the shot far out to sea,
while Wendy was blown upwards with no companion but Tinkerbell.
It would have been well for Wendy if at that moment she had dropped the hat.
I don't know whether the idea came suddenly to Tink,
or whether she had planned it on the way.
but she at once popped out of the hat and began to lure Wendy to her destruction.
Tink was not all bad, or rather she was all bad just now, but on the other hand, sometimes she was all good. Fairies have to be one thing or the other, because being so small, they unfortunately have room for only one feeling at a time.
At present, she was full of jealousy of Wendy.
What she said in her lovely tinkle, Wendy could not, of course, understand.
And I believe some of it was bad words.
But it sounded kind, and she flew back and forwards, plainly meaning, "Follow me and all will be well." What else could poor Wendy do?
She called to Peter and John and Michael and only got mocking echoes in reply. She did not yet know that Tink hated her with a fierce hatred of a very woman.
And so, bewildered and now staggering in her flight, she followed Tink to her doom.